Hey guys, welcome to bank fishing. Today we're going to discuss spinner baits and how to rig them, where to fish them, when's the best time to fish with them, all that good stuff. So, hope y'all out there having a great new year. Y'all be careful out there with some crazy drivers out there in New Year partying. So everybody, hope y'all had a Merry Christmas and hope everybody has a good New Year. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about spinner baits. And what this does, it imitates a shad for bass fishing, okay? And you could also imitate a crawdad with a crawl pattern, little skirt. So, and you can fish this thing hot water, dirty water, cold water, clear water. You can fish this in a variety different ways. Weather factor, windy, calm, cold, rainy, sleeting, snowing, it don't matter. This bait works, but the trick is you have to fish it the right way to make it work. So, how to set it up, how I set it up, what I use a 7-foot medium heavy action rod with a bait caster on it. And what I use braided line. Okay, I've got braided line. I've got 15-pound test braided line. Now, what kind of braid line I use? Well, I usually use what is that called? Spider wire. But since that's a little pricey, I use ProCat H2O Express braided line. And this is a 30-pound test, but I normally use 15-pound test. So this is what this is on here, 15-pound test line. I think. Yeah, I think so. So what I do is I make me a leader. I put my braided line on there, and then I come back. With fluorocarbon line. I make myself a leader. So what I'll do is cut me a leader. Cut that part off. That's part of that line's damage. What I'll do is I'll make probably about a foot, maybe 2 feet. That might work. Make me a nice long leader. It's like that. Fluorocarbon. And the reason why I use fluorocarbon on my lure because it sinks better, sensitivity. I can really feel what my bait is doing. And braided line as well is a very sensitive line as well. So what I'll do is I'll tie my braided line and my fluorocarbon leader. Tie the knot together. Tie a nice, really tight knot, just like that. Cut the tags off. So, I got my 15-pound test braid line with my 12-pound test fluorocarbon leader. Now, put my spinner bait on. Tie that on there. Now, I just tie a regular knot. I tried to do all those fancy knots, all those different fancy knots. I just double knot it. I've always catch fish with a good tight double knot. Okay. I don't do all those fancy knots. I don't got the patience to mess with those knots. So, alright, so I've got see my green line, that's my braided line, and I've got my fluorocarbon leader, just like that. So, the reason I do that, is that I don't mess up my braided line, and it's real simple, just a tie leader on here, and for spinnerbait, crankbaiting, anytime you're fishing kind of deep water, I always have fluorocarbon line on there. Fluorocarbon sinks better, and no stretch, gets that bait down there. It's real sensitivity. You can feel every bump, every rock, every log that you bump on. You can feel everything in the bottom. That's what's great about fluorocarbon line. And braided line, you can feel its sensitivity as well. You can feel everything as well, but it doesn't get your bait. It doesn't sink well as fluorocarbon. So that's why I do that, and I do that on everything. Just simply the fact it's just so easy. That way, if I break this line, I'm just gonna break this fluorocarbon line. I'm not gonna break this braided line. This braided line's real strong. I know it's got the backbone to pull that bass in. Unless my fluorocarbon line breaks, then I'll be in trouble. But and then if I'm using like, but also braided line is also good for good structure areas. And you know, if I'm going to fish good structure, kind of shallow structure areas, then fluorocarbon line is pretty good to use only. But I just always use my fluorocarbon leader. It works well, gets my bait down there. So that's what I do on pretty much everything. Braided line, fluorocarbon leader, boom. Real simple, real easy. I think it gives me a little extra sensitivity to it. So, I mean, I can feel everything that was down there. I could tell what my bait is doing. That's for the most part, that's why I do it. So every bass fisherman has their own unique way, their own technique, unique way to do it, and that's what I do. Fluorocarbon line with braided line with a fluorocarbon leader on it, on pretty much everything I fish for, except for my pan fishing. I don't necessarily need to do all that when I'm pan fishing. So, but I can say fluorocarbon line does work pretty good on pan fishing. Have put it to the test, and it works pretty good. It's slow. If you want your bait kind of slowly go down, that's what that braided line does. Now, if you want fluorocarbon line, you want your bait down to the bottom as soon as it can, and you want that sensitivity, fluorocarbon line is always good with that. But I fish with both lines, and I've caught fish with them just as good. So it's always a good tip. That's how I do mine. And sometimes on my spinner baits, I'll put a little trailer on there. Put a little trailer on there. You know, spinner baits, you can have different blade combinations. You can put a number 3 Colorado blade with a number 6 Indiana blade. Gives great vibration. You know, you can put a different skirt on there. You could put like a bluegill pattern on there with you know, kind of a bluegill pattern with the worm on the hook, and or you can put a treble hook on there as well. There's just different variety of ways to use spinner baits, and they're always good baits to use. You can use them. I mean, you can use the dog decks of summer, get down there real deep areas. You can use them real shallow in the spring. I mean, it's just a very good bait for a spinnerbait. I mean, it's a very good bait to use, and you can pretty much fish it all year long, just depending on how you're going to fish it. And the main thing, just don't reel it back. The main thing, don't always just reel it back in. You know, you got to twitch it, jerk it. You got to, you know, you got to have your bait. You got to have your bait looking like a dying shad. You know, you got to, you know, you reel it in fast and let it fall. Reel it in fast, let it fall. Different retrieves are very critical when you're using spinner baits. That's how you trigger those bites, and that's how you get those big bass. So that's today's subject, is learn how to use a spinner bait. And this is how I do it. And you know, you can use light spinner baits, a little bit lighter this, and you can catch crappie on them as well. Probably want to use a spinning reel for that, not a bait catcher, for your lighter spinner baits. But it's a very good bait. I know you can catch bluegill and crappie on them as well, but you can definitely catch some bass. I've caught that bass and that bass off of a spinner bait. 2 5-pound bass on a spinner bait, and it was awesome. It was windy, it was cold, and it was awesome. So go out there, find you some spinner baits that you think you might get a bite on, tie one on, try it out. So that's what's a great thing about spinner baits. I love using them. They're my favorite lure. I could fish a spinner bait anywhere and everywhere. Now, would I get a bite? It depends on. Sometimes I don't get a bite. Sometimes I get a big old bite. So it just depends on the weather and everything. And it always depends on what kind of spinner bait, because there's a bunch of variety of spinner baits, and it just depends on. You know, gold blades. I got gold blades. I got silver blades. I got this has like a diamond. This has like diamond plated on here. Diamond plated blades. You know, just very different. Just go out there and experience, and try to figure out a pattern out there, and the fish will tell if they want it or not. So, well, guys, that is the spinner bait. The great classic bait of all time is the spinner bait. It's a great bait to use. I love using it, and I wish I was out there right now using it right this moment. But I always use a 7-foot rod for everything. I use braided line for everything. Spinner baits, lipless crankbaits. That's a good bait to do. But next subject, we'll talk about lipless crankbaits. So yeah. Well, guys, look at my fish tank's getting dirty. I guess I'm going to have to clean that. Probably tomorrow. I'm going to clean that up tomorrow. It's looking pretty dirty. Yep, it needs to be clean. So. Well, guys, I hope you like this subject. I hope we can go out there and fish soon. I'm really looking forward to spring. It's pretty cold. It's pretty cold out there, and if I had some time, I'll be out there in a heartbeat fishing. I would try to trigger me a bass. But for bass fishing, get you a 7-foot rod, get you a spinner bait, and tie it on. You don't have to necessarily use braided line. You don't have to use a fluorocarbon line. You can just use regular cheapo line. I've got some cheapo line somewhere. I thought I did. I don't know where it's at. But some regular cheapo line. Tie your lure on there. Throw it out there. Do different retrieves. These pauses. Reel it in fast. Pause. Reel it in fast. Pause. Or you could do a steady retrieve. You know, just a regular steady retrieve. Or you can let it sink to the bottom. Let it sink to the bottom and do a real slow retrieve and try to feel what is going on underneath that bottle of water. And do that, might trigger a bass to bite too. You can always do that as well. Different retrieves will trigger bass. So if you just keep throwing out there and do the same thing, you're never gonna catch anything. So if you do, it'd be a lucky catch. So and that's what's great about bass fishing. Is like you can pretty much use anything as long as it imitates a shad or a crawdad or a bluegill. You'll get a bite. So it always depends on water clarity. You know, if you got real dirty, really dark, dirty, I would use like a black or a dark blue. If you can see it real clear, white's always good. If you can see probably, I don't know, probably about a foot. If you can see a foot of water, then I would put a bluegill pattern on there. So it just depends on what you want to do. So well, guys, I hope you have a happy New Year and be safe out there. And hope y'all have a great time. Hope y'all had a Merry Christmas. And guys, thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. My boy Jackson, I know you're watching every time. I thank you. And I'm looking forward to your podcast. Can't wait for that. And guys, always remember, have fun fishing. Thanks. See you again next time.